Guys, so welcome to the P Alpha React. Today we're gonna be reacting to Life of Marx last year's Thomas Sowell. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're getting to 1,000 subscribers. Now, further ado, let's go ahead.
In the decade that remained of his life after the destruction of the International, Marx published little. His financial worries were largely behind him, but illnesses plagued him and his wife. The completion of Capital was delayed not only by illness, but also by Marx's side excursions into other subjects, notably the history of Russia, which required him to learn the Russian language.
Hmm.
Even Engels did not know that Marx had let the manuscripts of volumes 2 and 3 of Capital sit untouched for years while he dallied with other matters. When Engels discovered this after Marx's death, he said that if I had been aware of this, I would not have let him rest day or night until everything had been finished and printed. Engels had been vainly urging Marx since 1845 to finish the projected book on economics. As it was, much of the last 2 decades of Engels' life were taken up trying to decipher and assemble the manuscripts for the remaining 2 volumes of Capital. Realizing the monumental task that this involved, and his own advancing age, Engels initiated the young Karl Kautsky into the mysteries of Marx's handwriting, enabling Kautsky to eventually
Hold on,
assemble
what's
the
going on here?
remaining manuscripts into Theories of Surplus Value, a separate 3-volume work originally intended by Marx as the final volume of Capital. Thus, a work begun in the middle of the 19th century was not completely published until the end of the first decade of the 20th century. Marx once observed that all his earnings from Capital would not pay for the cigars he smoked while writing it. It took 4 years to sell 1,000 copies, and though translations began to appear with the passing years, Marx remained in his lifetime a little-known figure outside the ranks of revolutionaries. His greatest notoriety came as a defender of the bloody activities of the Paris Commune of 1871. His book on the subject, The Civil War in France, sold far more copies than the Communist Manifesto. Marx
Really?
relished this public notoriety, though it also included death threats. The Marx family, even after being relieved from dire poverty, had many rocky roads to travel. Marx's wife, a beauty in her youth, found herself with a pock-marked face as a result of illness. In her words, looking more like a kind of rhinoceros which has escaped from a zoo than a member of the Caucasian race. She remained a nervous wreck and irritable with her children as a result of decades of
Oh
strain,
wow!
for which
I didn't know that Karl Marx had a very rough ending. Wow, it's very sad.
her pampered upbringing had not prepared her. While her mother's servant, Helene de Muth, had been a godsend to a young wife unable to take care of children, money, or a household, Lenchen's handling of these responsibilities may also have retarded or prevented Jenny Marx from maturing. Her immaturity was still
Oh,
evident long after she ceased to be young. At age 50, she realized a lifetime ambition by giving a ball, complete with uniformed servants and hired musicians. Even as a middle-aged woman and the wife of a revolutionary, she had visiting cards printed up identifying herself as Baroness von Westphalen. Nor were these the only vanities in which she and Marx indulged. They continued to give their daughters piano lessons, music, and dancing lessons, even when this sometimes meant not paying the rent.
what?
Keeping up appearances
Just to keep appearing? That's crazy. Wow. So what was the main reason to do so? I mean, I know that your kids need piano lessons, but what's the reason you want to do that when you need to pay for the rent?
was a major item in the Marx's budget throughout their lives. During his worst years of financial desperation, Marx strove mightily and with pained embarrassment to prevent visitors from discovering his poverty, though Engels pointed out how futile and pointless this was, even when this required his wife to take everything that was not actually screwed down to the pawn shop to pay for entertaining them. During one of his
Wow, bro.
worst financial crises, Marx contemplated the most extreme reduction of expenditure, which might include requiring him to move into purely proletarian accommodation and get rid of the maids. The three Marx daughters all became involved with men unable to support them, two through marriage and one in a common law relationship. All received money at one time or other from Engels, the eldest to pay overdue rent, the middle daughter repeatedly for a variety of reasons, and the youngest in a large inheritance which she did not live long to enjoy. Marx's relationships with his children and grandchildren, however, show his most happy and human side. He was a gentle and indulgent father, who amused his
Okay.
children with his own original fairy tales, and picnicked and played with them with great relish.
Wow.
The deaths of those who perished in childhood severely affected him for years afterwards. Marx wrote in a letter, "Bacon says that really important men have so many contacts with nature and the world, and have so much to interest them, that they easily get over their loss. I am not one of these important men. My child's death has shattered my heart and brain, and I feel the loss as keenly as on the first day."
Mm. Wow. Okay. That was very interesting. I didn't know Marx was that poor to that point. I mean, later in his life, what happened with his books? Was not selling? What happened? Remind me of Beethoven when he was in the last year. He died, relatively poor, not, rich enough. Just a low middle class. And Mozart, of course, he died completely poor. But then just appearing to have money instead of making the right decision, and then their kids did the same thing. They marry losers basically, just to keep a standard of living that's not realistic. But I think it's good to know about Marx. I think I have a different. I thought he was, a rich guy. Like he, you see the pictures and everything. You think like, damn, this guy had a great life. But it seemed like things were not going well for him, and he lost a kid. That's bad. Oh, interesting. I'm gonna watch a couple more of these. You know, to see what more I can learn from this. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.